And twin car bombs outside a mosque frequented by jihadist opponents in Libya's second city of Benghazi killed at least 34 people and wounded 87. The eastern city has been relatively calm since military strongman Khalifa Haftar announced its liberation from jihadists in July last year after a 3-year campaign, but sporadic violence has continued. Security expert and global affairs analyst Phatey joins us now via Skype to talk more on this. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now tell us, what has changed since Khalifa Haftar announced the liberation from jihadists last year to warrant this bombing?
Well, what has changed is that the jihadists have been pushed outside of Benghazi and other bigger cities within the eastern part of Libya. So it means that the stronghold of extremist group like the Islamic State have completely been devastated. So they have been pushed back basically into the rural areas where they have been struggling to emerge from. And this really becomes the latest test that General Khalifa Haftar has to face. But it is also a signal to the internationally backed government in the West, which is headquartered in Tripoli, that they are going to find it very difficult in order to control the eastern province. We must remember the unity-backed government is also trying to assert its authority in the eastern part. But Khalifa Haftar is strong, so pushing them back is now leading to the retaliation we are seeing. The mosque that have been attacked is a Salafi mosque, and the Salafis have been aligning with Khalifa Haftar. So it is, in mere fact, a retaliation, but it is the biggest attack and the highest death toll in a single day that we have seen being carried out by any extremist group since the ouster of Muammar Gaddafi.
Right, and attacks, twin car bombings in Libya's capital is definitely not a strange thing, like you say, but this one was 15 minutes apart. So there are speculations now that it was aimed particularly for a high civilian death toll. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's definitely correct. It is meant to maximize the number of casualties. So what they did was they did an attack on the mosque. And when first responders, doctors, and other civilians came out to help them, then the next explosion went off too. So definitely that is meant to maximize the number of casualties, and the death toll is expected to continue to rise even in the coming days. Initially, it was 28 people, it rose to 32, 34, and the statistics is continuing to rise. So it was meant to maximize the number of casualties, and I believe they achieved that. And definitely that's the sad part of the reality.
Sam, in spite of new envoys being sent to Libya on a regular basis, why have UN efforts to reconcile the rival administrations failed to yield any concrete results?
I think there's one thing that all experts and people in the international community agree on, which is peace talks and dialogue is the way to achieve the reconciliation. But here's what is happening in Libya right now. We have extremist actors in one end, then you have the political fragmentation in the center, and then in the other end, you also have weak tribal leaders. Everything that's happening in Libya, the unruly behavior, the lack of consensus, is all because everything is aligned based on the tribal factions. You have the extremist actors, and Khalifa Haftar basically rejected certain parts of the Libyan political agreement, and so there was never a consistent ceasefire. So in every negotiation that they have, including the one which was seen as the best so far, which was done in Morocco last year during the summer in July, there was an agreement for a ceasefire, but the ceasefire has never been properly implemented. I think the mere fact that there is no proper U.S. government policy when it comes to Libya is as if they have abandoned them. It's affecting the peace process itself. So there is a need for a lot of the NATO involvement again in order to maintain and keep the peace, which I doubt is going to happen anytime soon, but I believe it's an essential factor. And Khalifa Haftar is looking to run for president this year during the elections. So hopefully that would get his political allies in the Libyan parliament to kind of convince him to accept certain parts of this agreement. And maybe if he does, then he may have a chance to win. Even if he doesn't win, they can form a unity government in which they can share.
Sam, definitely with two rival parliaments and many powerful militia groups there battling for dominance, it is sad to say that this may not be the last attack we're to see. But we'll keep our eyes there. Thank you very much for your thoughts with us on TVC News Hour.
My pleasure.